Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is Brave Cat here with another weekly earthquake video here. We'll be covering quite a few things again, including volcanism and space weather. So stay tuned for that. We've got an interesting week. So in some ways, things have taken a step down, and in other ways, things have taken a step up. And things are looking a little sus for the West Coast. So I guess we'll start here. So we've had a couple more quakes here off of the coast of Oregon. So these are relatively far out, but they are right on the boundary. So if we go here, we're looking at kind of the left side of this plate boundary here. And if we take a look at the tremor map, it's still been quiet. Okay, it was getting quiet like a week ago, and there's still not much going on. So this is from yesterday, and there's hardly anything. Let's take it back the whole week. And as we can see, the massive cluster of tremors that was in Vancouver doesn't exist anymore. And, whether that's due to a lack of reporting for some strange reason or another, or because, they're literally just not there anymore, and that pressure is either building up or it's completely moved on. I can't really say for sure, especially with all the, government shutdown crap. It's been kind of hard to find all the same relevant information. But there definitely is a quiet zone here with the tremors, even though the global pressure has not stopped. We've still had deep earthquakes. In fact, if we really take a look at the last 7 days through the USGS feed, that's mostly what we see here. Okay, so between these sets of deep earthquakes, which are expanding, so even over here by Fiji, it's like this whole area now has deep activity, along with some of the shallower, larger stuff that we see. Same thing over here, north of Australia, up closer to Philippines. These deep earthquakes are coming in here, and then again near Japan. Even though it kind of looks like things have taken a bit of a step down, besides certain places like Western Turkey started popping off big time. Okay, haven't looked into it too much, but it seems like there's been a lot of people injured, a few dead, but mostly like injuries and other damage reports. And then we have an eerily similarly sized swarm here. This is east of Puerto Rico here. If I just kind of turn these down, you can see where it's at. And it's right on this plate boundary. Let's switch back to the Dutch Synths view. Again, shout out to him. This overlay is amazing. And the program, of course, will be in the description, which is by Richard Bolton. And I'll be trying to have quite a few useful links in the description today, so you can even check those out right now if you want to see things for yourself. Because we'll be covering a pretty wide variety of stuff here. So we've had these two swarms, just completely. Look at this. So Western Turkey over here, and the Caribbean kind of area. So, look at this. It's like, so we got 5, 6, and 4s. Go over here. Pretty similar. We've got a 6 and a bunch of 4s. So anyway, we have these two swarms here that erupted. Well, it's like, I call them swarms, but, it's because you have these 6s, right? And you have the aftershocks, but it's like, those aren't actually aftershocks, though. like it was swarming and then it got hit. I mean, it's similar to what we've seen in Kamchatka and some of these other areas that have had a lot of activity where, it's not just a big earthquake that spontaneously pops up. It's like we have swarming, we have other activity, we have other signs, and then we have the bigger earthquakes. This is like, I'm still like, huh. Like, I'm really looking at these two swarms here with the sixes, and it just looks eerily similar, doesn't it? And so, okay, I mean, the feed's acting a little bit weird, but we can look these up. So we have the 6.5 there, and the 6. So, okay, so these both happened on the 27th, and it looks like it was only about 7 hours apart, less than 8 hours apart. Interesting. Isn't that interesting? So yeah, so we have those just kind of doing their thing, and looks like this pressure is going to settle out to the mid-Atlantic ridge, but over here first, we got to see what it's going to do in Europe, and that's hard to do considering finding data and transparency is a battle in of itself. So okay, we got some other resources to go through here. Where? Right, okay. So here's since I can't get the Italian feed to show up, we have volcanodiscovery.com, so that'll be in the description here, but so there's been some activity by Campi Flegrei, the volcano. That's a good thing to keep watch on because volcanism has been very active lately, and even to the point where we're seeing not just dormant volcanoes have some signs of life, but even ancient ones. Even volcanoes that, just haven't, say they haven't erupted, in a very long time. Even some of those are waking up, so we're just looking at all that. All right, so that's kind of the biggest stuff here between these two swarms and these sets of deeper earthquakes. Which, I mean, again, it's like you look at this data and, I mean, the natural just pattern recognition in our brains. Like, I mean, it's so hard not to see all these different patterns, not just with earthquakes, but how it relates to volcanism, how it relates to solar activity. All the different fields of science that help us describe and make sense of how basically everything works, from the biosphere, seismology, to everything happening in space. It all is coming together. So, it's honestly beautiful to see all these fields of science coming together, and even putting spirituality and religion in there too, like, consciousness. It's all coming together. So, we're just here. We just out here right now, right? So we got 6s, right? So there's 2 6s by these 2 sets of deep earthquakes. Again, how many coincidences, how many correlations, how many patterns can we see until things start to become very evident that none of this stuff is random and it's all connected. Especially with this overlay, you can really see how this momentum, how the seismic pressure gets translated throughout the plate. But that doesn't, see, even with all this, I can't even sit here and make any predictions. Heck, even, people that have been looking at this for longer than me, it's hard for them to make predictions because of how complex things are getting, how much more extreme things are getting. So we can see what's going on. we can get some pretty good general, like, wide view perspectives on the situation at hand. But again, it's going to be really hard to figure out, these specific events, trying to get forecasting methods for those, because it's just, it's like the Wild West in terms of what the Earth is going through, what we're going through as people. If this has been a really heavy week for you, like it has been for a lot of people, that is a common theme. It's just, mentally, existentially, physically, financially, it's been heavy lately. And, I almost see that being reflected even here. Again, we have all this pressure building up with these deep earthquakes. We have the lack of tremors off of the kind of northern side of the West Coast, causing, again, a buildup of pressure. And then we see certain cracks, certain areas just completely breaking and being like, I can't do this anymore. The plate boundary is literally just like, all right, I'm out. And it's just pouring out with energy that are, finding these fault zones, these paths of least resistance, following with these waves of pressure that are, especially if you see over here, these like equidistant sets of earthquakes. And some of these like are so like, look at these two, and then look at these two, and then look at these two earthquakes. Like they're in pairs. Like these earthquakes are in pairs right now, it almost looks like, And again, even down here by the Drake Passage, where, there's a lot of these volcanoes waking up here on the south, western kind of tip here with Chile, Peru, Argentina, just all of these areas with volcanoes. This pressure is transferring out pretty heavily to the mid-Atlantic ridge. And again, this goes through the Drake Passage, which has had not just one, but two different mid-range sevens, mid to upper range sevens strike here in the past, within the past 4 to 6 months-ish or whatever. Since August, look, time isn't real, okay? Time is going by. This month has gone by in a flash. So again, though, this pressure is building up. Things are getting unpredictable. Okay, we have, I just want to reiterate, deep earthquakes by Japan, deep earthquakes here by Philippines, and of course, as usual, by Fiji. All right, the Indo-Australian plate is doing its thing. So speaking of that, let's go through a couple other feeds before I go through some of the other resources here. So, we've had some geomagnetic instability, even though we haven't actually had any Earth-directed, not any major Earth-directed solar flares. We've had some coronal holes. There is some sunspot groups. But here, so we got the Australian feed. So again, they don't show the depth here, so everything looks kind of flat. But we get a pretty good view. It's kind of an isolated look here. And again, look at these equidistant, similar sized quakes. 5, 5.4, 5.2. There's a 5.9 that dropped, with that 6, or maybe that's what they're, hold on. No, they're reporting the 6 that happened here, I think, as a 5.9. I'm gonna have to double check that. We have the 6 over here, and we have these 5s in between. We got this pair, we got this pair, we got this pair, 5.3, 5.1. I mean, look at it. It's wild, and man, it must be tough being on one of these islands, honestly. Kind of scary. Not a whole lot going on in Australia, which is good. But let's see, there's a 3. Yeah, luckily not a whole lot there. There's been a little bit more consistent pressure dropping off over here by this letter X. So yeah, it's wrapping all the way around. Let's go take a look, better look at Europe. So yeah, again, so the stuff in Western Turkey, big poppin'. But then it's like, okay, well, what else is going on? So I mean, there was more activity, kind of more north. See, I think, man, the European feed is looking either kind of stingy or, it could just be, again, the silent areas that we see. It's like it looks like either somewhere is completely popping off or it's dead silent, and not in a good way. So, okay, let's go back to the USGS. Okay, so yeah, see, so these show up here. This is what I was seeing. We got lots of pressure dropping off in the north, and so I'm kind of looking to see that being translated in Europe, because it's like we got these earthquakes and we got these, and what's going on here? So that's especially in Europe, it seems extra hard to find that. So again, the Italy feed doesn't work. Can look at the Russia feed, but I doubt that's gonna have anything different. Again, Kamchatka, I mean, this is just the norm now. Like, this is just normal now. I mean, it's not normal, but it's been like this for months. I mean, it's been like this since, well, around the activity started in the Drake Passage. And then now we're seeing more deep earthquakes. We're seeing these really intense cluster swarms followed by larger earthquakes. Like, it's not even just aftershocks. Like, these are full-on swarm locations that are just buckling. And then now we see a little bit more activity off the west coast. Let's see what the Canada feed looks like. I'm curious. I haven't actually looked at it. Let's go to the 2.5 and we'll go to the 0. And again, this is, oh man, stomach growl. Okay. So yeah, of course we've had stuff going on here too. And, it's weird. I wish we could just have just one combined feed that just seemed to work, because trying to look at it from this and then switching to this, we've seen a little bit more pressure that came into, inside the United States here, mostly down in Texas, but even with some Colorado earthquakes. But now, that pressure's moving on, and the new set of pressure is coming in hot, really. And again, with the tremors, we're trying to do some detective work with these tremors here. I'm skipping that song. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's go to Canada 0.0. See what's here first. Oh, wow. So, okay, we got the... Interesting. It feels like it's showing way more stuff on here. Aren't these supposed to be the same? Like, I mean, it's showing more, I feel like it's showing more 2.5 and greater activity than the other one was. They're all 30-day. Let's go back here. Like, where'd that 4 go? Did you see that? Did you see that? So hold on. So look through here. Okay, this is the 2.5 and greater. Right down here, just 3s, well, 2s and then 3s. Okay, and then let's switch to 0.0 and greater, 30-day. And I'll max it out. Look at that, you got 4. Hold on. You got multiple 4s. Why is it showing up? It's showing up almost as if they're literally trying to hide it. showing up on one feed but not the other. Even though this one is the 0.0 and greater, these 4s are not even showing up on the 2.5 and greater, so I don't know, kind of weird. See, and then we'll go back to, okay, 0.0 US GS feed. Well, okay, this will just be the 7-day, and we don't even have to max it out. Wait. Huh? Okay, there's no tremor activity. What? Oh, it's because I had the filter turned up. Okay. I was I was about to have a real big conniption. I was about to be like, what is going on here? Okay. Here we go. So yeah, okay, we got, of course the tremor activity. This is as expected. In fact, if we see this, the more this decreases while there's still all this other crazy stuff going on, the more of a interesting. You got these perfectly equidistantly spaced tremors here. Wow. But again, up here, I mean, it's just a quiet zone. I mean, we can turn it up a little bit more. And yeah, again, so we have these 4s over here. I mean, it's really like 5s. And yep, all this stuff going on in the south. So the south, side, like all of California, is still big moving, like big moving. Big releasing pressure. And then the north side, well, besides those 4s, all right, so there's actually bigger activity coming off of the coast, and we even see that reflected up here in Alaska. There's, what was that, a 5.4 there with all these tremors, and the 4s off of Vancouver in Canada, and then we have these here, but then the distinct lack of tremor activity. Mostly we can see the northern side here. And then, so, okay, we had this. Well, let's, that's not what I wanted. Let's just do that. So, yeah, it went from these tremors went south, and now they just don't exist. They're nowhere. There was very little yesterday. Oops, I gotta refresh the page because, see, I accidentally did that. Whatever. I already showed it. So yeah, there's a lack of tremors on the north, and now there's bigger activity striking not just here but in Canada. So that pressure's coming in, and I hope it's not getting ready to rip. But, hopefully we'll have some other warning signs. Besides, well, okay, I mean, you can take these tremor clusters, like we go down here, or sorry, here, so here's San Francisco. I mean, again, this swarm here just north of it is still going pretty strong. So if we just, we're looking at past 48 hours, 2-3 days here, that is still going, and then all the stuff going on down here. So there's still lots of movement. It's just that the flow of energy is doing some weird things. So wow, yeah, there's a lot going on. It's just hard to piece it all together. And again, I think going through some of these other resources here are going to help. So here's the erupting volcanoes from Volcano Discovery. A lot of the same ones we've been seeing here. There's Sabancaya there, and then Fuego, which is down over here. And actually, there's been a couple of earthquakes right by those volcanoes. If we go here. So, yep, we've had them right here. That's where Fuego and this other one is. Nope. And so, yeah, there's been a handful of things. Some volcanic ash advisories. And then we take a look at the space weather. So, I'm here on spaceweather.com because some of the other government agencies are, well, they're like NASA. NASA's not updating any of their stuff. How hard can it be to maintain a website when clearly they're still using those instruments? Those, all the data they're collecting is still happening because it has to do with national security. I mean, you gotta have your eyes on the sun. You gotta have your eyes on some of these interstellar objects. Clearly, they're still looking at it, and updating a website is, a lot simpler than running those instruments in the first place. So, it just kind of feels pretty pathetic that we have to deal with this. But anyway, so here is what the sun looks like here. This is just a static image, and here's the sunspots. So we've had far side eruptions, which would account for some of the geomagnetic instability along with the coronal holes that are facing us. So that's why we've had instability, even though there hasn't been any direct solar eruptions here if we look at the X-ray flux. And I mean, again, this is what is measured on the side facing us. So there's been far side blasts, but in terms of what we see facing the Earth, it's been pretty quiet. But again, we've also been seeing instability from even these nothing burgers of solar activity because of the weakening of the magnetic field. And so these solar particles have an easier way to get in here because Earth's magnetic shield, it's literally a shield, is weaker. So, these things are going to impact us. They're going to impact, well, they're already impacting everything, from earthquakes to biological energy. So, it's there. It's happening. And we're just trying to have our eyes open. So luckily there hasn't been any Earth-side directed eruptions, which is good. Even with this minor stuff going on here, look, the aurora activity is more than usual. If we did have a solar flare hitting us right now, I'm sure we'd probably see auroras, into the mid-latitudes. Which again is not normal. It should take a pretty massive punch of energy in order to see those auroras at lower latitudes. But no, we've been seeing them happen just with little tiny slaps, basically. So I think that'll mostly round it all out. I'll try to have a bunch of these links for these things in the description. So yeah, eyes open. I'll be curious to see what happens day by day at this point, because things are really getting interesting, and I don't even just mean that seismically. I think everything is. We are in completely uncharted territory on the cosmological and human scale. So eyes open, no fear. And I hope to see you all soon again.